Hi there. So we're going to take a look at the current cockpit setup. So go ahead and turn on all the electronics so we can see what is actually happening. So this is a Ford system. This is has a Ford E450 base. So this is going to be your standard Ford instrument cluster. Around me, I have a tire minder system for when we're towing the Jeep. We obviously have our instrument cluster. I actually like this one. It gives me the transmission temperature, coolant, gas, oil pressure, all the really important gauges are right up here. I like knowing what my RPMs are doing, especially when I'm coming down off of mountains. And I like having the built-in TPMS. I usually have that up when I'm driving versus, like, say, fuel economy or something like that. Let's be honest, you're not getting really great fuel economy in an RV. Over to my right here, we have the braking system for when we're towing the Jeep. I've tied into the AV system so I can put the camera that's built in up here. So you can see that's kind of repeated down here, but this can obviously just be a radio. But then I can keep that up there. I usually have my navigation set up here, and then we also have a dash cam, because you never know when you're going to need a dash cam. So that's my typical setup. I'll generally, as I've been talking about or have talked about, I will generally scan across my mirrors, scan across here. I don't trust the cameras outright. I will generally use the mirrors as well and just scan around. Obviously we're stationary here, but this is what it's like. And even Mr. Rat likes to get into it. Don't you, Mr. Rat? This is also where he will be when we have the curtain all the way up, so he'll sit up here because he really likes this window. I've really tried to take from learning a little bit about flying and about piloting and apply it to the situational awareness needed, especially when driving a larger vehicle. So really what they want you to do is be focusing on different areas, not just like staring dead straight ahead, not chatting with your partner or people off to the side, but scanning different areas and then occasionally looking. So I will scan ahead, I will scan near, I will scan down to my mirrors. So I'm trying to build situation awareness. What is ahead of me, what is down the road, half mile, mile, 2 miles as far as I can see, what's behind me and what's coming up on me. Now cameras do help, so obviously my rear view camera here will absolutely help so I can see. This also has side view cameras. Obviously the slide is out so you can't see much there. But yes, so this has side view cameras that automatically turn on when you signal. And I actually don't like that necessarily. I wish I could get this one up here to stay just rear view because I like, again, that situational awareness that comes from being able to see all around me. Once in a while, after I've been scanning for a while, I'll then look at my tire pressures. So I got the tire minder for the Jeep here. We have our tire pressures down here. I will scan my gauges, make sure nothing seems out of the ordinary. Especially if we're going up or down mountains, I'll be checking my RPMs to make sure that I am within a safe range and that I'm braking or going up in the correct gearing so that I can maintain proper control. I'll also obviously have my GPS set up here, so I'll be scanning over there, usually more likely listening, especially as we're coming up to where I know turns are. I'll also occasionally check our braking system here. Right now you can tell it is unhooked because there's the Jeep, but there will be a dot and a status on this display showing that it is hooked up and working. Or if something is going wrong, it will show the status code as well. And then I'll scan back down and I'll look around, go back up, look at my mirrors, go back up, look at tire pressures, go back up, check my cluster, go back up, look forward, look back, check my rear view, and I'll just continuously do that. If that sounds exhausting, it's because it is. And that's why a lot of advice is don't travel too much. Do not have 6, 8, 12-hour days of traveling because you will not be able to maintain that situational awareness. You will not be able to drive safely. And that's my rant for right now. I'm sure I'll have another one here soon.
All right, now let's see. So this is what it looks like normally with beads, right?
Yep.
This is the perfect view.
And if you want to see that, like that's the more perfect view.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
But from my angle here, the reason I have this, from my angle here, that's dim.
Yeah.
Because of how it's angled. And so this is where you would normally look up for a rear view anyway, so that's why I did that.
Gotcha. Yeah, this is more, I can see better down here.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, I kind of did this when I was kind of previewing the cockpit. But if you watch my head, you can see me. I'm still checking my mirrors. I'm still looking in the rear view, especially in traffic. We have a lot of traffic around us now. So typically what I'm doing is I'm splitting my attention between many, many different points. I went over this kind of in situ, but like what I'm doing is I am, especially with traffic, I'm following traffic from the camera to my side mirrors. If you have your side mirrors and your rear view set up correctly, you have no blind spot. So I can follow this minivan all the way through without losing track of them. But you have to track them, otherwise you will get surprised.
So we're only on like four lane freeway here, two lanes this side.
2 lane for us, yep.
If you've got 3 or 4 lanes on your side, does your process change at all?
No, I'm not paying as much attention to my right-hand side right now because I know there's not generally going to be any traffic. I've had some motorcycles and cops buzz me on that side, but that's more of a surprise.
Or people who are broken down or whatever, right?
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's the same general process where I'll be scanning instead of just watching my left-hand mirror. I'm still checking that one because that's going to help me line up my rig to the fog line on that side, to the lane line. But I'm still I'm watching traffic. I'm watching to make sure nobody's going to do anything crazy.
Are you downshifting right now?
I am. We're going down a hill right now.
Oh yeah, here's the hill. Hey guys, look at this. We're still kind of near Zion. See all the red rock? Yeah, we're going down a hill.
So so we're actually, that's the campground over there.
Oh, so we doubled back and got back on.
We doubled back. That's through the window that you liked over there.
Yes.
So what I just did was I downshifted. You don't want to ride your brakes. They will get hot and they will fade, especially about this terrain. But by downshifting, you maintain control over your rig a lot more. And that I was using, it's the gear lockout, so it locks out anything above that gear. Your rig may differ depending on what you're doing. You might have a diesel with an actual air brake, or an engine brake, and you might even have air brakes. And if you have those, you don't want to ride those because you'll actually lose air pressure.
Would you say that you can't get away with the kind of hill driving in a car in the RV?
No, you cannot. You're too heavy. You're too slow. You have too much going on. Even if you have the power to pull up a hill like what we're doing right here, you still, like that other Thor up there that just pulled into the middle lane. We'll see what's going on with this U-Haul trailer up here, but that was a little how you do it because the new left lane had not formed yet.
Oh, I see. So yeah,
so that was a little how you do it. You just always act purposefully and carefully.
Or deliberately.
Deliberately. Yeah, I'm going to get stuck behind these guys a little bit. That's okay.
That's okay.
You get put in traffic jail, it's fine. Oh boy. Yeah, people are acting fools.
When in doubt, don't be rushing to get places.
So there I was watching very carefully, making sure I had lots of room. We have lights set up in the back to be very consistent, to give people ample chance to see that we are turning or doing something. So you probably heard me stop and listen.
This guy's working down here.
So I just heard a noise. It was just engine noise, but I heard a shift in the tone. I want to make sure nothing's going on. It's also very common for me. I'm always watching and listening a lot.
You do that when you're driving a car.
I do that when I'm driving a car. I'm listening a lot.
Yeah.
And that comes from racing. Racing and honestly just towing. I used to tow a race car and race in 24 hours 11s.
Yes.
And the trailer, I didn't have TPMS or anything set up on it, so I would just listen.
Yeah, it was an older car, right? It was 80s?
Yeah, so the trailer we had was an older trailer too, so we didn't have like the nice TPMS setup or anything like that. So I was always just constantly listening to make sure nothing was going on, because we hadn't replaced the wheel bearings or really worked on the electronic brakes that much. So it was suspect. So I was always listening to it, making sure that nothing bad was going to happen. And in the race car, we had very minimal stuff there too. So I was always listening to make sure that, you know, a wheel bearing wasn't failing or a brake wasn't failing. So it's just something I've learned, is to use all of your senses. You feel what the road and your rig is doing. You listen to yourself and the other cars. You smell. You know, if you smell something hot, make sure it's not you. And obviously looking around and using your visual. So you use all your senses. And maybe not taste. I mean, if you can taste smoke, then something bad has happened and you should stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, like right now, especially hill climbing, I'm watching engine temperature, I'm watching transmission temperature. I'm almost always watching oil pressure, watching all of our tire pressures and temperatures. So yeah, I mean, it sounds exhausting, but as you can tell, as you get used to it, you can talk and do things at the same time.
Right, because you're clearly doing that.
Yeah, I'm not. So when I'm doing this, I'm not paying as close attention as I'd like to.
Yeah.
But I also know I'm still safe, because I've done this a bunch.
We know this area pretty well.
Yes.
You would not be doing this if this were like Dallas or something.
If I were to have, if I was in an airplane and I had an accident while doing this, the FAA would say I was not maintaining, I think it's a clean cockpit or a sterile cockpit, meaning I was doing other things than flying. Yeah. So right now I am doing other things than driving.
This is a dirty cockpit, everybody. Yeah. Whoa, that's suggestive. So, let me think. If there's anything else you want to tell them? I'm trying to think. Oh, so have you talked to them about the rules about how much you like to drive and what that has to do with attention?
So yeah, so that is, everybody should have their own personal limits. The one you'll hear a bunch is 333, and that is, especially when you're traveling constantly, 300 miles, 3 hours, 3 days. So you shouldn't be traveling more than 300 miles in a day. Shouldn't be driving more than 3 hours at a time. And generally giving yourself 3 days between trips. I have slightly different limits that I placed on myself. We will do what we call a double hop weekend, where we will travel twice in the same weekend. But that's also, we know we have the full week that we'll be working or visiting or doing something. I'll also go slightly more than 300 miles. I'll do up to 400, but I don't like to go over that. And I also don't like to go more than really a 5-hour distance, but I also don't drive 3 miles at a time. I will only drive up to 2, and then we'll take a break, and usually having a longer break in the middle.
Yeah. Well, part of that is Rat Face needs those breaks too.
Yeah.
For his little
Yeah, everybody needs those breaks, especially me with my attention.
Yeah.
And that's just, you need to learn your own personal limits. It's also something they teach you as a pilot. They teach you to, you know, some people can land in a heavy crosswind. Some people are not comfortable doing that. Actually, same with driving an RV. Some people, I'm perfectly fine. We've driven in 40-mile-an-hour crosswinds, 30-mile-an-hour sustained, up to 40, 50 gusts. And I'm okay with that. It takes a lot of my attention and time, but I'm okay with that. I know people who cannot do that. They would rather stop and stay somewhere than actually deal with those winds. Oh yeah, we're good.
We're good?
Yep. So okay.
Yeah, what happened?
So I got a tire pressure fault.
Okay.
Basically, it's just not reading. So we're just gonna continue, carefully.
Okay, and you got out, you checked it real quick?
Yeah. So we found a place we could pull off real quick. I mean, this is not ideal.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, you got it, everybody.
But yeah, so if you want to see, I can actually show you.
Yeah, show.
So you can see I have a tire pressure warning. That's the first thing I noticed, and then it showed up as a fault. And you can just see it's just not reading a pressure. That could be due to lots of things. The pressure sensor itself could be going bad. It could have received radio communication issues. I mean, we are out in the middle of nowhere, but we're along high power lines and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I could have passed somebody that had a bad, radio on theirs. Like, so we're just gonna watch that tire, make sure nothing happens. I did check the valve, made sure that it didn't look like it was leaking or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, hopefully this actually reminds me. So on our Jeep one, we were going through the mountains near Zion.
Yes.
And it suddenly read like 152 psi.
I remember that.
And I'm like, crap, I gotta find somewhere to pull over and check it. Then 5 miles later it was fine.
Okay.
So these only trigger, most people don't know, TPMS only triggers about every 5 to 10 minutes, unless there's a pressure drop.
Okay.
So probably just didn't receive a signal, which is fine. So we'll just deal with it.
Okay, we'll just watch it for now.
Yep.
And when we get a chance to check it, is there a check that you'll do that's more intense, or?
So I can go out and check pressures later. So probably at a nicer pull off, I might go out and check the pressure on it. But it's not a pressure error. It's just it hasn't received a signal in enough time that the computer's just like, hey, I can't read this time.
Gotcha. So if something were to happen, we would see it. So that's part of why we need to check it.
That's why it's warning us. It's just like, hey, I can't warn you if that blows out.
Okay.
But that's also not even so the tire that's next to it on the dually, that one we've had trouble with. We've actually we have a patch in, but it's the outer one, so we'll just keep an eye on it. We should be able to see if it does blow out. We should be able to see it in the mirror. Yeah. So I'm not terribly concerned.
So just to tie it into, would you focus? You get it stupid over there.
He was passing it. He was passing real close to the passing zone almost. He had to cut off a truck to be safe. Anyway. Just
to tie it into the safe driving video, do you want to talk about what you did when you pulled over, or ways that you made the determination that it was safer to pull over even though it wasn't?
Sure. Actually, if you want to show the road right now, this for our rig is not safe. Like, I basically pulled off in the driveway like that.
Yeah.
But this isn't safe enough. This isn't enough room in our rig to pull out. So what I did was first I noticed the flashing light, the message saying stuff, and so I immediately slowed down and put on my hazards, letting people know, like, hey, I might act erratic right now.
While we were still on the road.
While we were still on the road. So I slowed down, had you check the mirrors, see if you could see anything, because like if it blew out, like, for all I know, that's why we were getting error. And then I basically slowed down. We were doing about 60. I slowed this down to about 40. And then as soon as I saw a driveway,
like one of these little guys here,
this would be just long enough for us.
Yeah.
That's when I pulled off, so I could get this, because I didn't want to be in the middle of the road, but I still had the Jeep basically right on the line when I pulled off, but it was enough that I was safe.
Right.
And then, for those that don't know, when you exit in something like this, always double check your mirrors, make sure nobody's coming. Walk towards the back if you're not super knowledgeable about it, but always at least check, double check what's coming, because it's one of the most dangerous things you can do, to stop on the side of the road and have somebody hit you because they didn't know you were about to jump out of the car.
Exactly, and if we didn't have that viewpoint, we do have the side door because we're in a Class C.
Yes.
You can always pop out the side door,
which I have done in the past.
Door.
Yeah, when we had issues with our stabilizers coming down, I hopped out the campsite door.
Well, we were actually on a pretty good straightaway. We could see a few miles into the distance and everything.
Yeah, I was able to see about a mile in each direction, so I had plenty of leeway room.
Good. Yeah, because that's a big safety thing, because things are going to happen. You're going to have to pull over unexpectedly.
Yes.
Just knowing how to do that.
Yep.
Is a big thing. But that was not ideal.
No. You're going to run into lots of this. I mean, this is US 20. This is a major US highway. And this doesn't have anything. It has some pull-offs. Like, there's a little one.
Little one there, yeah.
But, it's not going to have, not always going to have a lot.
That one's pretty decent.
That one was actually, looks like that one was put in by the highway designers.
This one's pretty ideal, but unfortunately it was too far away from us at the time.
We could have made it. But, you never know when you're going to have an issue or something like that. So it was better for us, like if we did have a ruined tire, I have a full-size spare. Yes. So if there was an issue, I was willing to lose that tire. And just be very slow and cautious, and then if I had to, put another one on.
Roadside assistance and all that, but you really don't want to use that, especially when you're out here.
So
it's hard
what's
to get out
real
here.
fun is for RV roadside assistance. For most people don't know this. For tires, what they're usually going to do, because it's really hard to, if you don't have a spare, what they will usually do is they will bring you a tire that will work on your rig, and then make you drive to another service location with them to get it replaced.
So it's pretty similar to what you're going to be doing.
Yes,
Except
what you're going to do anyway.
You're going to come to the part where you have to wait for them to bring it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I paid, so I couldn't even get a spare through a dealer for this rig. I actually put one together from a used rim off eBay and a tire. It basically picked the same tire. Giant pain in the butt to find rims that matched for the dually and everything.
Gotcha.
Did it, but you know, I think I ended up paying like $400 or $500 to do that. Plus, you know, putting a mount on the bumper and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it's worth the peace of mind, so that if there's a house coming, if there is an issue,
there is a house
there's
coming.
Literally a house coming.
All right, we'll talk later then.
Yeah, if there is an issue, I can deal with it. So, okay, this is going to be about kind of interesting.
Good talk. There's house coming, so we're gonna shut it off.